Nice and authentic are two words that often get conflated, but they are fundamentally different in their essence and impact. Being nice is rooted in external perception. It's about adhering to societal expectations, avoiding conflict, and making others comfortable, even at your own expense. Nice often stems from a desire to be liked, accepted, or validated by others. It prioritizes pleasing others above all else, even if it means compromising your own truth. A nice person might smile through discomfort, agree to things they don't want to do, or suppress their true feelings to maintain harmony. While it may appear virtuous on the surface, this kind of niceness can become a burden, trapping you in a cycle of self-neglect and inauthenticity. On the other hand, authenticity is about alignment with your true self. It's not about how others perceive you. It's about how true you are to your own values, feelings, and needs. An authentic person doesn't act out of obligation or fear of judgment. They act out of integrity. Authenticity allows you to say no when something doesn't serve you, to voice your opinions even when they may be unpopular, and to stand firm in your beliefs without seeking approval. It's about being real even if it's messy or uncomfortable, because realness has a power and magnetism that niceness can never replicate. The key difference lies in motivation. Niceness is performative. It's about playing a role that others find palatable. Authenticity is transformative. It's about embracing who you are and inviting others to engage with you on that level. Where nice seeks to avoid rejection, authentic is willing to face it, knowing that being true to oneself is more important than universal approval. Authenticity requires courage, vulnerability, and the willingness to stand out rather than blend in. It's not about being reckless or unkind. It's about being genuine and grounded in your truth, even if that truth doesn't conform to the expectations of others. The cost of people-pleasing is a heavy one, even though it's often disguised as harmless or even noble behavior. At its core, people-pleasing is a cycle of self-sacrifice driven by the need to gain approval, avoid conflict, or maintain relationships at all costs. On the surface, it may seem like a small price to pay, agreeing to help someone even when you're overwhelmed, saying yes to something you don't really want to do, or biting your tongue to keep the peace. But over time, these small sacrifices accumulate, and the true cost reveals itself in ways that can be deeply damaging. The first and most obvious toll is emotional. When you constantly prioritize the needs, desires, and feelings of others, you begin to lose touch with your own. You might suppress your opinions, silence your voice, or deny your feelings to keep others happy. But those emotions don't disappear, they fester. Resentment grows as you realize that your kindness is being taken for granted, or worse, expected. You may start to feel invisible, undervalued, or trapped in relationships where you're giving far more than you're receiving. Over time, this emotional dissonance can lead to feelings of emptiness or even depression, as the energy you expend on others leaves little left for yourself. The mental strain of people-pleasing is equally profound. The constant monitoring of others' reactions, the overthinking of every word and action to ensure you haven't offended or disappointed, and the anxiety of trying to meet everyone's expectations can be exhausting. It becomes a mental juggling act, trying to keep everyone happy while neglecting the most important person in the equation, you. This perpetual worry about how others perceive you can lead to chronic stress, burnout, and a loss of mental clarity. You may even start doubting your worth. believing that your value is tied solely to your ability to serve others. And then there's the spiritual cost, which is perhaps the most devastating. Every time you say yes to something that feels wrong in your gut, you betray yourself. You disconnect from your own intuition, values, and purpose. People pleasing often forces you to contort yourself into a version of you that is more palatable to others, but far removed from who you truly are. It becomes harder to hear your inner voice, to know what you want, and to trust yourself. You may begin to feel lost or fragmented, as though the person you are is merely a reflection of others' expectations rather than a true expression of your soul. On a practical level, people-pleasing can also lead to tangible consequences in your life. Time, energy, and resources that could have been spent pursuing your goals, passions, and dreams are instead devoted to fulfilling others' demands. Opportunities pass you by because you're too busy helping someone else chase theirs. Your career, relationships, and personal growth can stagnate because your focus is spread so thin, leaving little room to invest in yourself. You may also find yourself in toxic dynamics, where others exploit your willingness to give without reciprocation, further deepening the imbalance in your life. What's especially insidious about people-pleasing is that it often feels rewarding in the moment. The smile, the thank you, the sense of being needed or appreciated can create a fleeting sense of validation. But this external validation is a poor substitute for the internal fulfillment that comes from living authentically. It's a cycle that perpetuates itself, as the temporary high of approval keeps you coming back for more, even as the deeper costs continue to mount. Reclaiming your voice and power is a deeply transformative process, one that begins with the recognition that you have been silenced, not necessarily by others, but often by your own fears, self-doubt, or desire to conform. For too long, many of us have allowed our voices to be drowned out by the noise of expectations, the opinions of others, or the weight of societal norms. Reclaiming your voice doesn't mean shouting to be heard. It means rediscovering the courage to speak your truth, no matter how quiet or bold that truth may be. It is about stepping into a space where you honor your feelings, your needs, and your perspective, even when they challenge the status quo. This reclamation starts with self-awareness. You must first acknowledge where and when your voice was lost. Was it in moments when you agreed to things you didn't want just to avoid conflict? Was it when you stayed silent because you feared judgment or rejection? Was it when you chose the path others expected of you instead of the one your heart longed to take? Identifying these patterns is crucial because it helps you see how often you've given away your power in an effort to be liked, accepted, or safe. Once you see where your power has been compromised, the next step is setting boundaries. Boundaries are not about shutting people out. They're about defining where you begin and others end. They're about protecting your energy, your time, and your well-being. Saying no can feel terrifying at first, especially if you've been conditioned to believe that your worth is tied to your ability to accommodate others. But every time you say no to something that doesn't serve you, you're saying yes to yourself. Boundaries are a declaration of self-respect, a way of telling the world and yourself that your needs matter just as much as anyone else's. Reclaiming your voice also requires you to confront the fear of being disliked or misunderstood. This fear often keeps people stuck in patterns of silence and compliance. But the truth is, not everyone will agree with you, and that's okay. Being true to yourself isn't about winning universal approval. It's about aligning with your values and living authentically. But the real goal is not about avoiding universal approval. It's about living your best life. This might mean having difficult conversations, standing up for what you believe in, or making decisions that others don't understand. It takes courage, but with each step, you'll find that your confidence grows and the weight of trying to please everyone begins to lift. Another critical aspect of reclaiming your voice and power is unlearning the narratives that have kept you small. These might be the internalized messages that say, you're too much, you're not enough, or you don't deserve to take up space. These lies have often been reinforced by experiences, relationships, or cultural conditioning, but they do not define you. Reclaiming your power means rewriting these stories and replacing them with truths that affirm your worth and potential. It's about recognizing that you are not here to be invisible or to live in the shadows of others. You are here to shine, to lead, and to make an impact in ways that are uniquely yours. Finally, reclaiming your voice and power is an ongoing practice. It's not a one-time event, but a daily choice to show up for yourself. It's the decision to advocate for your dreams even when others don't see your vision. It's the resolve to trust your intuition even when it goes against conventional wisdom. It's the commitment to prioritize your own well-being even when it feels uncomfortable or unfamiliar. Each time you choose yourself, you reinforce your power and strengthen your voice, building a foundation of self-trust and resilience that no one can take away. The beauty of being unapologetic lies in the freedom and empowerment that come from embracing your true self without hesitation, guilt, or shame. For too long, society has conditioned us, especially women, to dilute our personalities, minimize our ambitions, and soften our edges in order to make others comfortable. But being unapologetic is a radical act of self-love and liberation. It means stepping into the fullness of who you are, owning your desires, your flaws, and your strengths without feeling the need to explain, justify, or seek approval. It is a declaration to the world that you are enough, just as you are, and that your worth does not hinge on anyone else's validation. To be unapologetic is to stop asking for permission to exist in your authentic form. It's a rejection of the unspoken rules that demand you apologize for your confidence, ambition, or success. It's about walking into a room without shrinking, voicing your opinions without second guessing, and pursuing your dreams without downplaying them. When you're unapologetic, you're not afraid to take up space physically, emotionally, or intellectually, because you understand that you belong wherever you choose to be. This isn't arrogance, it's a deep sense of self-worth and self-assurance that radiates outward, inspiring others to do the same. Being unapologetic also allows you to reclaim your time and energy. How much of your life has been spent worrying about what others think? How often have you over-explained your decisions, softened your no, or bent yourself into uncomfortable shapes to avoid upsetting someone else? When you decide to live unapologetically, you free yourself from these exhausting cycles. You learn that you don't owe everyone an explanation for your choices. You don't need to justify why you want what you want or why you choose to live the way you do. This doesn't mean being unkind or inconsiderate. It means recognizing that your life is yours to live and that you have the right to prioritize your happiness and well-being. There is also immense beauty in the authenticity that comes with being unapologetic. When you stop pretending, stop hiding, and stop molding yourself to fit others' expectations, you create space for genuine connections. The people who truly value you will celebrate your authenticity, not criticize it. By living unapologetically, you attract relationships that are rooted in respect and mutual understanding rather than those based on control, manipulation, or convenience. You give others permission to see the real you, and in doing so, you inspire them to be real too. Living unapologetically also means embracing imperfection. Too often we feel the need to apologize for not being perfect, for making mistakes, for having flaws, for not meeting the unrealistic standards imposed by society or even ourselves. But perfection is an illusion, and chasing it only leads to frustration and self-doubt. When you're unapologetic, you accept that you're a work in progress. You celebrate your victories without downplaying them, but you also acknowledge your missteps without letting them define you. This openness to imperfection fosters growth, resilience, and a deeper understanding of yourself. At its core, the beauty of being unapologetic lies in the profound sense of peace it brings. When you stop living to please others, you discover a life that is rich with meaning and fulfillment. You wake up each day knowing that you're living in alignment with your values and purpose, rather than constantly striving to meet external expectations. There's a calm that comes from no longer feeling the need to overanalyze your words or actions, no longer carrying the weight of other people's judgment. In this space, you find not only your voice and power, but also an unshakable confidence that allows you to face the world with grace and strength. In conclusion, this is a call to step boldly into your truth and reclaim the life you were meant to live. Stop being the nice girl who sacrifices her authenticity for approval. Embrace the courage to be authentic, to honor your boundaries, and to walk in the fullness of your power. Recognize the heavy toll of people-pleasing and refuse to let it rob you of your joy, your voice, and your identity. Reclaiming your voice is not an act of rebellion, it's an act of self-respect. And when you dare to live unapologetically, you find a beauty that radiates from within, a confidence that cannot be shaken, and a freedom that transforms every aspect of your life. The world doesn't need a watered-down version of you. It needs the real you. Speak boldly, stand proudly, and never apologize for being exactly who you are.